right. Invest Iowa teams up with Young Pro 2023, the takeover.
Let's go.
Let's go.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Invest Iowa. Today, Ethan Montang with Young Pro. He has his own podcast, his own stuff, but he's already doing well for himself. So why should we listen to him?
Like I said, I don't really like talking myself up too much, but I'm 30 years old. Built 87 rental units is what I'm at right now. Valuation is $5.3 million.
That's a dream, man.
Yeah. Not a millionaire yet, though. I think that's important to get out there.
Yeah.
I'm close. My goal is by the time I'm 32, so in about a year and a month, I should be a millionaire.
Pretty cool. But you have your goals, and that's what matters. And like the journey is that's what we brought him here today to discuss about the journey. So if you were planning on being a millionaire when you were 32, just like he's planning to do it, what will be the steps that you need to take?
Well, I actually think you can do it a lot quicker than I did. I think everybody has learning curves that they got to adapt to. But I started out with a single-family house hack. 10 months later, I bought a duplex, house hacked that, and I've actually been house hacking for the past 7 years. So I'm still house hacking today. Thankfully, I've got a 5-bedroom, 2-bath house, 3-car garage. Still have a roommate in the basement, and I have a guest bedroom, my son's room, an office, and my room upstairs. So
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you still
still house hacking currently.
that is the advice that people get told just as they're getting started into the process.
It's so basic, but it's like read Rich Dad Poor Dad, house hack. That's if you want to get started and you don't have a lot of money, that's the route to take.
All right. So when do you start your wealth journey? How do you go about that?
I used to wrestle in college, got hurt, dropped out, went and traveled Europe, came back and was working at Journeys, the shoe store, and I heard an ad on the radio about come to this conference and you can learn how to invest in real estate, and that was when I was 2021, and by by the time I was 23, I bought my first rental property. I'm 30 now. Yeah.
So 2020.
So 2016 is when I bought my first rental.
2016. Okay.
But I was 23.
What was your rental?
It was a single family.
It was a single family?
Yep.
How,
Ames, Iowa.
how do you get it?
I actually teamed up with my parents. I had saved up $15K from my job, convinced my parents that they needed to do something different because they were on the path to working until they died. So I convinced them to pay the fees, take out of their 401k, match mine, and we had to put 20% down on a $150,000 house. It came out to be $30,000, and it was the first deal. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That you got that first deal. What do you do with that property?
So I lived in it and then rented out 2 other rooms. And like I said, about 10 months later, I found a duplex, and I came to my parents. I was like, okay, I've been studying real estate for like 3 years now. I know this is a good deal. And they were like, hell no. We haven't made any money on the first deal because I was living there. I was living for free.
Yeah.
But they didn't make any money, so they were like, absolutely not. So I did an owner-occupied loan. Only had to put 3.5% down, $187,000 duplex. Bought that. Moved in, actually rented out a room to my ex-girlfriend, made her pay rent, and then
That's so toxic. That's so
it's
toxic.
not time. Well, I'm not even gonna get into that story, but rented out the other unit in the duplex, and then rented out the whole single-family house. So like within 1 month, we went from making 0 cash flow to almost $1,000 of cash flow a month. Yeah.
Insane. With the duplex.
With the duplex
And the
and
single
renting
family.
out the single family.
And where were you living?
Ames.
No, so where were you living in? The single family?
I was living in the duplex.
in the duplex. Okay,
Yeah.
just in one.
In one side of it. It was a 2-bedroom. Made my ex-girlfriend pay rent. Rented out the whole other unit, and then rented out the single-family house.
What after that?
So again, about 10 months later, I then found a single family, which is where I did a double house hack. It was a live-in flip. And I rented out a room to a different buddy. Girlfriend moved in, same girlfriend, made her pay rent, and then I rented out the entire duplex and the single family house.
Whoa! That was really fast.
So first 3 years was one deal pretty much every 10 months.
Every 10 months.
Yeah, every 10 months I did another
How did
deal.
you find these deals?
Those were actually all on market. I don't recommend that anymore, but I didn't know another route. You know, I was still learning, didn't know anything about creative financing, just kind of the basic go to the bank, put 20% down, unless it's an owner-occupied, because we had to put 20% down on the live and flip as well.
So on the single family, you team up with your family.
Yep.
On the second one, you get an FHA loan.
Yep.
Okay.
And then on the third one, I teamed up with, because again, then my parents believed. So we teamed up on the third one again. And then my fourth deal was my first kind of apartment deal. And I ended up doing that one by myself. So my first and third deal I did with my parents. Second and fourth deal I did completely alone. And then me and my parents, they've kind of just been trusting me ever since. And I pretty much give them 50 cents of every dollar I make. Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. So your fourth deal is an apartment. What does that mean?
It was a 7-plex.
7-plex.
Yeah, and that's actually a crazy story. That was on Zillow, and here's a little gem for everybody. I went to Zillow and I clicked on newest because you can sort on Zillow, and then I went to the last page. And so then I found the houses that had been on the market the longest, which means they had the most incentive to sell. When I found that deal, I presented them 3 offers simultaneously. The first offer was an all-cash offer, which was the lowest priced offer, middle set of terms. My second offer was a bank financing offer, middle priced, and then the shittiest terms to deter them from doing that offer. And then the third offer was a seller financing offer, the highest priced and the best terms, like closing in 14 days, 2-day due diligence, and then it shot them into that. So when they responded with being interested in the third offer, I knew the seller's incentives and could negotiate from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we need to touch base on. That was your fourth one.
That was my fourth.
And that was a 7-plex?
7-plex here in Des Moines, and Essex. It was called the Essex House. It's in Sherman Hill.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you cash flow that one?
That sent me through the ringer, man. So
is it different because you're dealing with one person that you know now on
exactly.
a 7-plex is completely different.
Different type of tenants. It was not up to rental code, so I had to kick everybody out. Ended up demoing the place, and I had just cashed out. Like I just reinvested, and so I didn't have any money. So I had a partner. That was the first time I ever had a partner that wasn't my parents. He was actually in the NFL at the time, and he ended up going through a divorce and had to back out of the deal. So here I am, like not having very much experience at all. Backed out of the deal, had to do the whole thing. It was on seller financing, sent me into a crazy depression, and I ended up figuring it out. And because of that deal is kind of the investor that I am now. Now I know I can take down anything because that was a shit show.
7-plex. So Sherman Hill's very strict with the permits, right?
Oh yeah,
your
because it's a historical district,
right?
Dude.
I hate that.
Yeah,
I hate that. I lived there like a couple months ago,
Yeah.
But you have to have everything up to code on a
Yes,
specific way, which
dude.
makes it more expensive.
So much more expensive.
Well,
And again,
what
I
was
didn't
that
know
like?
that. I that was all just a huge learning curve for me. So my initial quote on what I thought I could rehab the building for was like $260. By the end of everything, when I really had good people in there and some people that cared about me and helped mentor me, the final quote came to like $520. I was
Wow.
literally 200, like double off on my rehab budget. And I didn't have the financial partner that I initially had that was supposed to even cover the original 260 quote.
So how do you manage that? Like, how do you come afloat?
That's a great question. So I demoed the whole building by myself. My construction partner at the time was involved, but I couldn't end up paying him after a certain point because I ran out of money. So I had to do the entire demo, kicked everybody out, and then I went to the RIA. I went to the local RIA, and I advertised it. I told them about the building, that I demoed it, and what that allowed was when a real investor would walk through, they could see all the issues. They could see the plumbing, they could see the opened up walls, whatever it was, and then if they were a real player, they would know what that would cost. So then I actually resold that building on contract and made a margin. So I bought it for $260 at 3.5% interest, and then ended up selling it, I think like 6 months later, at $285 at 4.5% interest. And that contract just closed 3 or 4 months ago. So for the past 2 years, I'd been making about a $270 margin from what they were paying me and what I owed on the initial note. And then at time of closing, I got a check for like $20K.
So you're getting cash flow.
Cash flow every month. It
with
wasn't my property.
No liability.
No liability.
Wow.
And if they didn't pay it, then they would have gone in default. I would have taken back the building, but then still been responsible for the payment to the initial seller.
But you would have gotten at least the cushion of
Yeah.
the prepayment that they did.
They
the
had
down
been
payment.
doing up until that point, but if they defaulted on it, then I wasn't getting that cushion anymore. Wouldn't have been getting it anymore.
So after that 7-plex, what do you go for?
So then I actually sold my 4 units in Ames and rebought 15 units in Boone. So then I went from, now I'm sitting at about 22 units. It was a 5-plex, a 4-plex, 2 single families, and a duplex
Okay.
in Boone, Iowa.
Does it feel like at this point? Does it feel like you have to be so many places? Does it feel overwhelming? Is the learning curve the same for residential and for commercial?
Absolutely not. But I got my first taste of cash flow like we were talking about when I did the duplex. So it was literally at that moment that I knew that multiple doors was the key to creating real cash flow. And the only reason that I did that live and flip that was after that we talked about was because I had ran out of money and I needed to do a flip to make a chunk of money back to be able to go after multifamily. Yeah.
Wow. And your 7-plex was your first commercial deal?
Yeah.
Did you get any mentorship for that?
Yeah, so I paid for the Rich Dad Poor Dad mentorship initially, and I think that was like $9K.
9K.
Yeah.
Wow. And Boone, how does the deal in Boone go?
Those
across the
are
table?
super cash heavy. We don't have the appreciation like the West and East Coast does, nor did it have it like Ames. But Boone from Ames is only about 10 to 15 minutes. But the cash on cash return, which is your cash flow divided by your initial investment, was significantly higher because the appreciation was lower. And at that time, I didn't give a shit about appreciation. I needed cash flow to like potentially quit my job. So just having appreciation or principal pay down was just increasing my net worth. But that didn't do anything for my lifestyle or the ability to have more time to spend educating myself and investing.
Unless you take more debt.
Unless you
against
take
that
on more
property.
debt or pull
But that's
out.
just more work.
Yeah, and that's right away. You know, that takes time to build up that principal pay down and appreciation.
So you were taking that cash flow from Boone. What was your cash on cash return?
Anywhere between like 17 to like 30%.
That
Dude,
is
Boone was wild at
awesome.
that time. Yeah, yeah. I'm actually about to liquidate some of that portfolio, and I'm selling a 5-plex. I bought it at 115, and we are redoing the last unit. We were working on it yesterday, and that's going to hit the market this month, and I'm probably going to list it at like 225. I bought that 4 years ago, so I should make about 100K profit on that.
Wow.
Yeah.
All that appreciation is gonna go into why commercial. You
So actually,
multifamily?
I'm going to be retiring my parents. So I'm going to give them pretty much the whole $100,000. And I got another building that I'm liquidating. And my mom's been she's been amazing. She's been the back end of my business, bookkeeping, organization, and stuff. But needs to retire. And so I'm going to take that other amount of money. And I found myself a COO, an operator that can do her job, can do management, and he currently manages like 150 to 200 units. So he has all the skills that I need, and that will provide me his salary. So I won't actually I only have probably about $50,000 left over after I give them $100,000. His salary is going to be $60,000. And then I'll have about $50,000 to play with. Maybe I'll go to Asia or something again, South America. Did you know that? In November, I just got back from backpacking Southeast Asia for 10 weeks.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Alone.
I had some buddies fly in like 3 or 4 weeks into it. But yeah, I did Singapore and Malaysia alone. And then when I got to Thailand, I had some friends meet me up there.
Wow. But that's the type of lifestyle that you were dreaming for.
Oh,
right?
100%. Retiring my mom and having the freedom to travel with my family, future wife, all those things. That's been the goal since I was 20 years, for a decade now.
So now you're only looking for multifamily?
I like triple net lease as well. I've started becoming fascinated with that strategy.
What is triple net lease?
So triple net lease is where you have literally zero expenses with operating the property. Even the property taxes and insurance are pushed back on the retail clients. So it's like a strip mall almost or something like that. So instead of having, multifamily residential tenants, you'd own like a strip mall, and there would be salons, tattoo parlors, entertainment or whatever it is in those buildings, and they're responsible for all their own maintenance, their own property taxes, their own insurance, all of that stuff, and all of the expenses get pushed back on the tenants, and therefore it just creates a much lower operating expense ratio. It's almost zero.
Is it easier to manage because they have all the load?
Significantly. And the other thing you got to remember is business owners, just like yourself, dude, they're not going to mess with their money, bro. So where they're making their money, they are going to be paying their rent on time. That is no question about it. So, and you're not getting calls about a leaky faucet because they're calling the plumber because it's their own responsibility.
I see where you're coming with this.
Yeah.
What areas are you looking here?
Kansas City.
Kansas City?
Yeah, so I have a fourplex, and I just bought a condo this month in Kansas City as well, but that's the next market that I'm going to be taking over.
I saw the post. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Shout out to my partner, Ashley and Janelle. They're there. Met them through TikTok in Vegas at a real estate conference, but they're amazing. Dude, I need to introduce you to her. She did over 100 wholesale deals her first year in real estate.
100 wholesale
Over
deals.
100 wholesale deals. She doesn't talk herself up at all, but she is the best wholesaler and networker I've ever met in my life. She's a stud.
We should have a podcast with her.
Yeah, you should.
But anyways, this is about you. This one's about you. So, okay, go back to the suburb, because now you're in Kansas City. I thought we would just do it in the sevenplex and then Boone.
Yeah, all right.
What's after Boone?
So we're probably talking 2019-ish now. I got the sevenplex, the 15 units in Boone, so I'm at 22 units. And I do a couple other deals. I start getting into the Des Moines area and start studying that a little bit more. But I actually stumble across this old school building. It was 12,000 square feet. It was completely vacant. And I got to buy the property for $50,000, 0% interest for 3 years, only $2,500 down.
Wow.
And I know we've talked about Grant Cardone a little bit, huge fan of his. And he had this one saying, if you can purchase a property for cheaper than it costs to build, you'll be in a good place. It had 122 brand new vinyl windows in the building. So just in windows alone, there's about $47,000 in windows alone, and I bought the building for $50K.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you come across this deal?
It was off market, man. I found the owners actually used to be a church. It was a church, and it was a church that my parents went to. So we just went and spoke with the church, told them about what we were doing and what we wanted to do. They actually had 2 different buildings. We were trying to get both of them, and it didn't end up working out that way. So I just got the one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's a big step. I
Huge.
think from Boone. How many doors are we talking about, and how many?
Well, it was
units?
set up kind of like a dormitory style, so it wasn't like a normal apartments, and each apartment had its own
Like a
kitchen and bathroom.
university,
Yeah.
college?
So you'd have. It was split into 2 different sides, and when you'd walk down the side, there would be a common bathroom that would have 3 or 4 showers in it and 3 or 4 toilets, and then 1 kitchen per side. So there was a total of 4 kitchens and 4 bathrooms, and inside those bathrooms were normally 3 to 4 toilets and showers.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, this is the type of properties that you actually never see in the market, because everybody's talking about your duplexes, triplexes, single family, rent by room,
Yeah.
and then maybe commercial leases or multifamilies.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
how do you characterize this? What is this?
It
Still
would be a
considered
commercial. I guess it
multifamily?
would be commercial. I guess it would be considered a commercial, maybe multifamily. Now, it took me 10 months to sell, and it was producing 0 income because it was vacant the whole time. But what I built this concept again, went back to the RIA, and built 3 different ideas. I was like, if you turn it into apartments, this is what it could do. If you turned it into condos, this is what it could do. If you turned in the top half into apartments and the bottom into heat, temperature controlled storage units, that's what it could do, because the bottom part was mostly concrete and needed the most amount of money. So I presented these 3 ideas, which has also made me comfortable with speaking and talking real estate, and I had to know my numbers because I'm there with real players speaking about it. So I just kind of created these 3 options, put it on the board, and let it go.
You weren't confident when you started so you didn't present yourself with numbers before?
No, I was confident, but just speaking, I'd never spoke to other people or had to be, because knowing numbers is one thing, but being able to explain the numbers to other people when
Shark
they ask
Tank
questions,
style.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So when was the first time that you ever had to do that?
Probably the seventh.
How old were you?
26, probably.
26.
4 years ago.
4 years ago. That's not that far ago.
No, but I've been investing for 7 years. So.
Yeah. And then what after that?
So sold that building. That was the first time I ever made $100,000. I bought it for 50, sold it for 149,900. So 99,900 was my profit. Teamed up with the guy that was kind of my mentor at the time, and we bought a sixplex with that money in Ankeny. And Ankeny is an extremely hot market. Yeah, and again, that was just set me down this road of multifamily and focusing on that.
Where's your mind right now? What are you working on?
Multifamily, restructuring the foundation of my business so I can start running again. So right now I'm just in that restructuring thing so I can run and buy just a mass amount of deals. But yeah, it's multifamily and triple net lease.
Wow. Okay. What do you see yourself getting in 2023 besides like trying to hit that million mark?
I'd like a triple net lease property. I haven't locked one in yet. I've analyzed a couple strip malls. They just didn't end up working out. They were all seller finance. But yeah, I'd like a multi-use building. Maybe it has some residential and some retail. But definitely, I'm gonna break 100 units. That's for sure.
I think this is a great time to stop because the next question that I'm gonna ask you is how you go about seller financing, and I want to get into the numbers. So if you want to watch the second part of this episode, this podcast, hit the like button, subscribe, and then we'll link the video right next to it.